Hey, what's up, everyone? And welcome back to another edition of the show. It is episode 382, and I'm being joined today by 2023 U.S. Open champion at 92 kilograms, Mike Macchiavello. Mike Mock, man, thanks for joining us again. How you doing today?
Good, man. Just finished practice at home now, just hanging out. Excited to be on the show, man.
Heck yeah, excited to have you here. So you're one step from the world team, right? We all know you're in Final X. You're waiting your opponent. We'll find out who that is this weekend. But I'm curious, and I know you kind of, relatively speaking, you got a little bit later start in the sport. I'm curious when you first started paying attention to the world, the process, right, to make the world championships, and like who was on the team or who was making the team, or what do you remember, roughly about that time? Who was making world teams when you kind of first hopped on your radar?
In high school, I kind of heard of Jordan Burroughs just from my teammates and Cale Sanderson, but it wasn't really something I followed much. I didn't really know a lot of wrestlers, didn't know a whole lot of NCAA champs or Olympic gold medalists. I actually had never even wrestled freestyle until I got to college. So I would probably say after my freshman year of college, when I got to wrestle U23s, and I went 1-2, that I was like starting to pay attention to guys that were making teams and senior level teams. And then that was kind of when, David Taylor and Dake had just kind of came up out of college. They had just graduated and they were trying to make teams, and Jordan was beating them. And so getting to following those. And there's just a lot of awesome matches and competition that you kind of got to follow. And but it wasn't until probably after the end of my freshman year of college that I started to kind of pay attention to that stuff.
Sure. So there was Dake and Taylor. Do you remember any of the bigger guys around your weight?
I remember Jordan and Varner winning the Olympics.
Okay.
That's what I remember the most, and kind of getting to watch those matches and on NBC and following that. But other than that, not a whole lot.
Was that at the time so you're a freshman in college and you're thinking about being an All-American or an NCAA champion probably, right? Was world teams on your radar, or even a thought that hey, one day that's something I want to do? Or did that come then, or did that come later?
A little later, because my goal was to be an NCAA champ in college, but I was still going back and forth mentally about should I quit and try and play football? Should I try and walk onto the football team at State? And I was still kind of not ready to kind of let go and accept that, football was on the back burner. And so I was still kind of flirting with the idea, not seriously, but it still crossed my mind. And then when I really, really fully committed to wrestling, and after I'd asked Frank Beasley if I could try out for the football team and wrestle, and he said no, I was like, all right. I was like, all right, I'm all in on wrestling. And then kind of started to take that stuff seriously. And then after my redshirt junior year, losing the blood round and getting ready for my senior year, I was in my first year of grad school at State, my fifth year, the year I won NCAAs. And I just remember thinking, I'm going to wrestle at the senior level until I finish grad school. And then after that, probably switch to the next thing. But I wasn't necessarily sure what that looked like. And then obviously my aspirations of winning an NCAA title came to fruition. And then I got to wrestle at the U23 trials and I won, but didn't get to wrestle because my birthday was in 94, even though I was still 23. And then I got to go to national team camps, and that's when Snyder first asked me to be his training partner for Worlds in 2018. And then I got to wrestle match simulation with all those guys after I'd won NCAAs later that summer. And I just remember thinking yeah, I want to do this.
What was it about that made you, why did you say I want to do this?
I just didn't think I was that far off. I felt like I was wrestling competitively, and I think guys liked wrestling with me also. I think that's part of the reason why Kyle asked me to go to Worlds with him that year. And then, I felt like even the next year, Jaden asked me to be his training partner for Worlds. And then fast forward past the Olympic trials, Jaden took me to the World Championships last year as his training partner. So I've been to the World Championships 3 times as a training partner for Jaden and Kyle. And I felt like, I mean, to be asked on a consistent basis to go help those guys prepare for me felt like there's a reason, and I just felt like I wanted to help them as best as I possibly can and be a good teammate. But at the same time, as loyal as I am, I'm also ambitious, and I felt like I want to be able to compete at that tournament as well. So and now I'm trying to get there. So and I feel like I'm close. I can taste it, and now it's just a matter of continuing to prepare to the best of my ability and take care of everything that's within my control to make sure I put myself in the best position possible.
Does going there with Kyle and Jaden like make it more realistic, more tangible? Like, oh, this is what it is, and maybe I can do this, but otherwise, it's just like a concept in your head that you don't really know what it looks and feels like.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I feel like I have respect from my peers, when we train together at camps and all of us training together and stuff like that and having that respect and challenging each other and pushing each other. I feel like it's iron sharpening iron, and I very much feel like, I've been close. I just haven't been able to kind of break through yet, and obviously you always want to break through sooner than you do, but it's kind of reminiscent of my high school career, my college career. I didn't win a state title in high school until my last year. I didn't win an NCAA championship until my last year. And those took 4 or 5 years. And now I'm going on my fifth year at the senior level, and I made my first Final X, and I'm in a position to make my first world team. So it's to me, it's just a matter of like realizing, like, man, things just take time, and you got to be patient with yourself and just continue to stay persistent and determined. And um, usually, when you work hard and you stick with something long enough, things start to kind of work in your favor. There's no guarantees in this sport, but man, do your odds start to go up the longer you stick with it.
Yeah. It, I'm curious how those, the high school career you talked about, the college career, and how this one's maybe starting to match up with in the way that those kind of went. Like, I'm sure you made mental jumps along the way in high school, and then mental jumps along the way in college, and then along with the physical, right? But I'm curious on the mental side, like where you've made the most jumps recently.
Um, I think realizing that at this level, a coach plays a tremendous role in your development, but only so much. Um, at the end of the day, you have to take extreme ownership of your career, especially at this level. I mean, you have to be making the right decisions outside of the room, sleep, diet, conditioning, consistency, discipline. And you do those things consistently enough over a long enough period of time, you begin to outwork your self doubt. And your confidence comes from not a place of arrogance, but from a place of determination. Because you've sacrificed, you fight harder, man. You give it's a lot harder to break you. It's a lot harder to give up because I've you've given something up for this. And I feel like sacrifice is a non-negotiable. It's a necessary component of the mental aspect because it builds that determination, it builds that resilience, and it puts you in a position to fight harder because yeah, you just know what you've done to prepare, and mentally I just feel like it puts you in a very, very determined place.
And not obviously not to diminish coaches because they're extremely important. But maybe to what
Oh,
you said,
huge, huge.
as you go on though, I don't want to say as a coach, the coaching component less important, but I guess is the personal component more important if that makes sense.
When you say personal component, like what's coming to mind?
Kind of what you described, right? Like um, when you're just learning wrestling, you need the coach to teach you where to put your hands and how to do these things, and you still do,
Yeah.
but maybe there's smaller changes. And is it as there more? Is it more on you and what you do? Kind of the things you just described.
I think it's a little bit of both, but I think like in this particular case, let's say Adam Hall and Timmy McCall were pushing me in practice, right? And were preparing me and giving me the blueprint and helping me work on all the right things during training. But let's say I come home and I don't have any control of my weight. I'm eating whatever I want and sleeping 2 hours a night and not hydrating and I'm doing extra stuff, just kind of not focused on recovery at all. It's like I could be doing everything perfect in practice, but my weight's out of control and I cut weight improperly, and now my legs are dead because I've had to run an hour and a half on the treadmill to get my weight down the day before competition, and all this other stuff. There's so many parts that go into preparation. It's not just the coaching. It is very much like on you just as much as it is on the coaches. And so, there's this saying that I heard in the past where it's like, pray as everything depends on God, work as if everything depends on you. And it's almost like you can parallel that to your coaches, where it's almost like listen to your coaches as if everything depends on them, but work as if everything depends on you in a way where it's like you're doing the best you possibly can on both ends of the spectrum, and that's going to put you in the best position possible.
Yeah. Uh, okay, so coming into this U.S. Open, you're seated third. Colin Moore and Nate Jackson, I believe, are seated ahead of you. I know you dropped two to Colin last year at the World Team Trials. Did you have a history with Nate?
No, I had never wrestled Nate in true competition. I mean, we had wrestled at camp, but he was at 86 kilos at the time, and that was a couple years since I had wrestled him. And uh, yeah, we had never wrestled in like live competition before, and I mean, obviously, he's done a tremendous job. He won the World Cup, and he's been wrestling incredibly well in the past 2 years, and obviously developed a lot. So, um, I just kind of no, I didn't really have much of a history with Nate there, but I knew obviously that he was an incredible opponent and someone that you can't take lightly. You got to bring your best to a match like that when you're wrestling someone like Nate.
Yeah. Uh, where was your confidence level coming in? Like realistically, knowing that you'd wrestled Colin a year ago and it didn't go great, and Nate's really good. Were you like, I'm confident I'm going to win this, or more like I believe I can, but maybe I'm not confident I will?
I don't keep score, man. You could beat me 15 times in a row, and it doesn't matter. Um, so that
I love it.
was last year. That was last year. You could beat me the week before, and it's like that was last week. You got to show up today too, homeboy. So it's like I just don't keep scoring. I'm a big believer in that. No match is the exact same. There's so many variables. There's so many things that go into preparation, health, weight cut, recovery, sleep. I mean, there's so many different things that could play a factor in someone's performance. It's I just kind of you forget about it. You have short memory, and it's kind of it's funny in football. We always talk about having short memory. You mess up on a play. It's like you still got 3 more downs. You got to forget about it and get ready for the next down. And so I feel like part of that maybe is trickled over to wrestling, that mentality. But yeah, man, I just I think the confidence what came from a practical place where it's like I really was doing everything I possibly could to prepare for the U.S. Open, and so my confidence came from I feel ready. I don't know how those guys feel, but I know how I feel, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told you beforehand we had the scoring highlight from last year. You said you like to forget about things. Here I am bringing it up, but I want to watch it. Like maybe just talk me through, and we can play. Like, and where was your confidence level coming into that match?
Yeah,
Matches.
so confidence. I'm always ready to scrap. I'm always ready for a fight, but um, that was an interesting year. Obviously, Colin has gotten an amazing offense, and he won 2 world ranking tournaments this past spring, and so there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to take anything away from me. He wrestled incredibly well that weekend. I think for me, part of what I felt personally was I felt like I could have been in better shape and I could have prepared more leading into the tournament. And honestly, I think the mental space that I was in leading into that world team trials, feeling like I wasn't properly prepared endurance wise and et cetera, made me so determined to make sure I had that box checked off this year. And I think the preparation leading into that competition and the performance that it led to played a huge role in the change that I made in my preparation leading into this open and the performance that that led to.
Well, tell me. I mean, you're the kind of guy who leaves no stone unturned. What? Tell me about the preparation leading into 2022 World Team Trials, and why did you not have confidence in, like I think you said, your endurance or certain things? Because yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that I didn't have confidence. I think too, Colin and I have wrestled so much. I think a lot of that match had to do with I think a well executed game plan. I think he did a great job kind of adjusting to matches that we had wrestled in the past, and even the Olympic trials the year before that, he had made awesome adjustments to where we had wrestled each other in camp, and we were competing super hard, and I think he made adjustments a couple months prior. We had wrestled each other RTC Cup a couple months prior to the Olympic trials, and you make adjustments. And so I think he made awesome adjustments going into that competition and executed them well. But I think for me, when I think about myself, I didn't get to compete at the 21 World Team Trials. Wasn't cleared medically, and then that led to me not wanting to get the COVID shot, and then me not getting the COVID shot led to me not being allowed into the NC State practice room because the athletic department wouldn't allow those who weren't vaccinated who were NCAA athletes. And so, I was working out on a 10 by 10 mat at my house and working outside the facility. And I hadn't been in the room from September all the way to right around the Bill Farrell the following spring. Um,
Wow.
so, and it was just interesting. And, I was doing technique and I was, you know, wrestling, but even then, I don't think that's an excuse. I think there was still like, I could have hit my bike more. I could have done more conditioning. I could have went for more runs. I could have had a cleaner diet. And so, like, in the room, not in the room, I think preparation wise, I still could have been more disciplined and I could have taken more ownership of my process leading into the competition. So, but that did play a huge role. And like I said, that's not an excuse, but it was just different. It was just not a normal year for me. And then after the Farrell, I got back in the room for like 2 weeks, and then I wrestled the Open. And then I remember at my interview at the Open thinking, I said in my interview after I wrestled Joe Rao, saying, I felt like I'm wrestling well, but I feel like a big focus for mine leading the trials is shape. I want to make sure I'm in better shape for the trials. And I did my best, but it's such a small window, and I think it. I think yeah, I just could have started sooner. You know what I mean? And this year, I just made sure I started sooner.
So I don't know that I knew that you were out of the room. I know there was restrictions and get the shot or don't get the shot, and people are. I think the OTC might have been shut down for a while as well. Uh, but so you're wrestling on a 10 by 10 in, I don't know, your garage or something.
I'll
Are
show it
you?
to you right now.
Yeah. Did you have consistent partners? Was that hard to find people to come train with you? That's it.
Two bikes.
Like wrestling wise, what's it like wrestling on that mat?
Uh
It's
I
impossible.
mean, no, I mean you can't go crazy hard, but I mean you
That's
can
what I'm.
still do stance in motion. You can do um technique. You still get a good sweat. It actually gets pretty humid in there, and I mean, it's not as bad as you think. I think Nick Lee tweeted something the other day. It's like you can get better at wrestling. All you need is a pair of shoes, and I think I agree with that. You know what I mean? You don't have to have the perfect situation. I think we're lucky as Americans to have the resources and the facilities and access to all the things that we have access to, but you look at some of these other countries, and when you get to travel overseas, and you we have the best of the best in terms of training situations, and these other countries sometimes don't, but they still perform at an extremely high level, and it's like, why is that?
Could you wrestle
So we're
live? Sorry, go ahead.
nah. There's
Yeah,
class. There's
that's what I'm
definitely not
saying. So
wrestling
like,
live.
you could
Yeah,
stance in motion all day.
yeah. So I
So,
would I would sometimes go to like a local club or some place where there was a bigger mat, and I would try and I would work in some live there. And the NC State coaches were still sending me practice plans and stuff that they were doing, and sometimes I would maybe be able to get my hands on a college guy, but there was so much restrictions. It was so strict in terms of like what was and wasn't allowed during that time, and as things started to kind of settle down, it got a little bit easier.
yeah, and maybe harder physically,
Yeah,
right? Which makes
yeah,
the matches easier. I coached for a while. I used to always say the harder it is in here, the easier it's going to be on the mat. Like
100%.
make it as hard as you can in here, and you're going to see that pay off. And obviously you got
But
back. You have something to say?
yeah, yeah. I mean, and like I said, man, I don't think that's why I lost. I think Colin had a well executed game plan, and I think he did a good job putting it together. And as much as I would love to say it, I wasn't completely prepared, and that's the reason why I think it's those guys are good competitors, and I can't take anything away from those guys. So
Absolutely. But fast forward to this year, right? You're out of that little 10 by 10. You're in a real room for an extended period of time, having real practice, and let's pull up. I want to watch this finals match from I guess about 3 weeks ago, and kind of the same things before. We can just let this one rip. Nico, our producer, and we can watch this and talk me through this. Tell me what you're thinking. How
I
it
was just
went.
excited, man. Uh, I felt really confident. It was more so just trust yourself. You're ready. You've done everything right. You've prepared to the best of your ability. Just let it go and wrestle hard. And I had a game plan, and so I wanted to make sure that I tried my best to stick to that. And I think I did a good job trying to execute what I had in mind. And then I think I also just did a good job of wrestling hard for a full 6. I wanted to make sure that that's what I did. And yeah, so that's kind of my mentality. It was just kind of be yourself, be you, go out there and be you.
Yeah. Can you tell us your game plan?
Nope.
We'll just have to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No. My job to ask.
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
Can I give you some advice?
Yeah. Please.
Need a tighter hair bun.
Dude, holy cow. I felt like I was eating my hair. And then the worst part is, I think I was watching the match back. That was a really
That was
nice
really nice
misdirection, by
drag
the
of the
way.
opposite side.
That
Yeah,
was beautiful. I just remember thinking, like, damn. it
I would have thought the
was,
same
it was,
thing.
that was smooth, man. But I just remember watching a part of the match, and I felt like I saw like a clump of hair just kind of slowly float to the mat like a piece of tumbleweed. And I'm just like, dude, I got to either braid this or cut it off.
You gonna braid it up
I,
for Final X?
yeah, I am. I braided it for Pan Am's, and it was a night and day difference. I didn't have hair in my face. I didn't have to worry about it, and it made a huge difference. So I'm definitely going to do that again for Final X.
There you go. Awesome. He tried
Yeah,
it again. Made an adjustment
yeah,
that time. And
yeah.
now
Short offense. Yeah,
you
just
put him
here,
on the
just making sure
defensive.
like yeah, and I feel like I do a good job in the short offensive position, capitalizing on opportunities. And so, when I felt like I had those opportunities, I wanted to make sure I went 100% and try my best to get to them.
Yeah.
You get some, you score, some you don't, but either way, you make the guy work, no matter who it is, and it pays dividends later in the match too. So
Yeah. Nice adjustment from the. He gave up that first one. He basically tried the same thing. You shut it down the second time.
thanks. Yeah, no, man, Colin's really good, man. He's got an amazing offense. He's a great competitor. I mean, obviously, you don't win two world ranking tournaments out of sheer luck. So, um, I think we got a great group of guys at 92 kilos, and yeah, I'm excited to be in the position that I am. I feel like I'm really close, and I can taste it, and yeah, it feels nice, man, to finally, this is my first Final X. I haven't made a Final X before, so it feels good to kind of get to the next step. And so just focused on taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of me and capitalizing when they're there. And I feel like I have an opportunity in front of me, and now I need to do whatever it takes to capitalize.
Sure. Um, and this crowd, like they changed the format, right? U.S. Open goes straight to Final X, and they changed the schedule so that the senior men's freestyle is before. I think the U17 and U20, so you had a bigger crowd. Did you feel any of that? Like that's the biggest U.S. Open on crowd I've seen since I've been watching.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. For me, it almost takes the nerves away. I feel like for me, in a weird way. I don't know what it is about the crowd, but I just feed off of it so well. And I love it, man. It puts me in like a different zone where it's like I don't even care what what's going on or how I feel. I just stay present, and I just kind of feed off of the energy of the crowd, and I'm just excited to be in front of a bunch of people and let it fly, man. And for me as a competitor, I love those type of environments. World Team Trials last year, it wasn't as many people, and I don't think that affected my performance at all. But when there is a huge crowd, I feel like it definitely elevates me.
Heck yeah, and yet you clearly been rising to the occasion. That was a nice one.
Thanks. Yeah, just kind of capitalize on trying to create an angle and getting close to the edge, so working the zone. And I think he was trying to not step out, and it put me in a position to kind of capitalize and get in on that double, and just decided to keep running through, just wrestling really, really hard, man.
Yeah, I think they didn't give it at first, right? And then Sammy Julian on the right, he's basically one of the head officials. I think he said, "Hey guys, that's guys, that was two."
Oh yeah, I was like, man, that's definitely got to be two. If they wouldn't have given me two, I would have been very confused.
Yeah, it almost looked like you were like going for the one at the last second. You're like, "Hey, I'm just gonna keep going and try to make two out of this."
Yeah, yep. Just kind of fell into it and just went with it.
Yeah, solid. We're tied 2-2. Are you thinking? Well, what are you thinking here?
Just continue to wrestle hard, be incredibly active, and um, obviously, I know the situation where I have the lead on criteria, so um, I know. I mean, he's going to come regardless. He's going to come even if he has lead or even if he's from behind. So for me, it's just sticking to my game plan and making sure I'm executing that, and again, just wrestling super, super hard. And I felt like even here, like I'm looking for scoring opportunities. I had an underhook. I wanted to look for a throw by, didn't really get it, but just continue to look for opportunities. And obviously, he keeps coming. So whether it's me getting to offense or whether it's me looking for counter offense, just look for those opportunities.
Yeah, and like you said, you're making them work in these short offense positions. You're defending and then attacking, like almost in one.
Yeah, I never want to stop wrestling. I want to wrestle through every single position to the best of my ability for the full 6 minutes. And so, not taking an exchange off and just remaining incredibly active with my feet in my hands, always looking for scoring opportunities. I feel like I'm a big pace guy, so you use that.
That was big because he hit that. We watched that clip from the World Team Trials. He hit that same little pick on you
Yeah.
from before, and now Lay City. Did you know you had it? Like, I guess at what point did you like? I got this lace where I want it. After the
Uh,
first one, was before the first one? Was it after the second?
I think it was after the first one. rolling
Yeah.
into the second one, I felt I was like, oh yeah, I think I got this tight. Um, and there was still a good amount of fight on the second one. And once I got through the second one, I was like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going until until the ref stops you.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't 100% sure at what point I had the tech, but I just wanted to score as many points as possible in that exchange. Because obviously, when you're wrestling elite guys and you get opportunities like that, you got to capitalize to the best of your ability because they're going to keep coming. And so, just executing as best as I could there, and I did thankfully, and I felt obviously me. I went crazy. I started letting out that yell, and I think part of that is because I just felt like no one really had me favored in that match. Not no one. I think, but you look at the last three times we've wrestled each other. He's won, and so for me, that yell was more so for just the emotion that I've put a lot of work into this, and then it was also like doubt me again. You know what I mean? Doubt me again, please. For the people who didn't have me favored to win the Open, it was very like yeah, it's just kind of like I'm a competitor, man. Like I'm a nice guy, but and I try and be kind and respectful to everybody, but for 6 minutes, I try and be as mean. I want to break people in half, and that sounds crazy, but it's like it's a fight, man. It's a dog fight out there, and there's nothing nice about it. And for me, yeah, I'm respectful and I can keep my composure, but I mean, we're elite competitors out there. We're not trying to be kind with each other and play patty cake the whole time and have a tea party. It's very much like we're trying to hurt each other, and we all have our own dreams, and somebody's dreams got to die, and you're either gonna concede and just give it up, or you're gonna fight for it. And I'm a fighter, man. So every time you see me out on that mat, you can expect a fight.
Heck yeah. Uh, so this weekend we're gonna find out
Yeah.
your opponent. I'm looking at the seeds here. Colin Moore in order, right? One, two. Colin Moore, Nate Jackson, Zahid Valencia, Eric Schultz. Um, Maybe it's unfair for you. Who you think you might see, or who you care to see? I'm sure you say bring them all.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just focused on my preparation, man. Just staying consistent and making sure that I'm making the right decisions to put myself in the best position possible and get myself ready. Um, I think there's going to be some great matches though, and I think what's going to be interesting too is it's in Colorado Springs where it's 6,000 feet above sea level. You have that elevation, so it'll be interesting to see if that plays a factor in someone's conditioning or plays a factor in the match. You got some really, really explosive guys in Nate, Zahid, and Colin, and then you got a pace guy in Schultz. And Aiello wrestles tough too. He wrestles hard, and um, you know, does that play a role? Does it not play a role? You never know, but it'll just be interesting to see. I'm uh I'm excited for June 10th, and I know whoever comes out of the World Team Trials is going to bring their best, and they're not going to take this weekend lightly, and they're coming for the World Team spot too. These guys are hungry, so. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I don't want to pick anybody either.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't think you would. Uh, without asking, I'm assuming you're confident you're gonna make the world team. You can make the world team. When did you feel that way a year ago? Did you feel that way 2 years ago? When did you say, hey, no, I can do this?
um, I feel like for me, I felt like in 2018 when I made the U23 team and I got to go as a training partner to the World Championship for the first time, and I got to see everything. I felt like then I could do this.
Yeah.
I thought I was close then, and then yeah, you get frustrated, and when you don't make a team, you constantly reevaluate, and you figure out, what do I got to change? What do I got to fix? What do I got to get better at? And you're constantly trying to refine yourself, and then you fall short again, and then you go through the same process and you fall short again, and it kind of gets like a little discouraging. I went to a WWE tryout at the end of November, and I got offered a WWE contract with NXT, and they wanted me to move and start in Orlando February 13th this year. And they were really excited about me starting, and I was pretty excited about the opportunity too. And I remember, saying, like, in order for this opportunity to work for me, I've got to, it would have to be able to have support to finish this wrestling pursuit through the Olympic trials. And they were asking me, what's the timeline? And I told them realistically what the timeline was. And they said, that's going to be tough realistically. I'm not sure if that we'll be able to do that. Give us an answer by Monday. And man, I was going back and forth just a bunch. Like, what do I do? Like, do I go ahead and transition to the next thing, or do I see this dream through? And you have to ask yourself a lot of tough questions. Like, well, first of all, if you do turn it down and the opportunity doesn't present itself a year from now, and let's say this is the only chance that you have with this company, do you realistically think you have a chance to see the other dream through? And is it worth the pursuit of turning the other down and seeing it through? And you got to really ask yourself some hard questions and really get honest, because those are big decisions that kind of dictate the trajectory of your life. One looks like this and the other looks like this. And it was one of the hardest decisions I've had to make, man. And I ended up deciding to see this dream through all the way through 2024. I felt like I put so much work in, and the trials is only a year away. It's next April, so it's less than 12 months away. And I was like, you work hard, and you're only less than a year away from the next trials. It's like, are you going to look back 20 years from now and think, what if I did go all in? What would have happened, or what would that have looked like? And I just didn't want to have any regrets. And for me, just bet on yourself, man.
Hell yeah.
Double down, man. Double down, dude. And it's scary, man, because there's no guarantees in this life and in this sport. And you make the decision, you're like, did I make the right decision? I don't know, and I think it feels worth it now, obviously, with the way things have gone the past couple of weeks. But it's like that saying, burn the ships and storm the castle, where you exhaust other options and you turn every other option away. Like, this is the only one left. You have to go all in so you don't have any regrets 20 years from now. And I feel like since February, I've just been storming the castle. I've been all in, man, because I have to be. I'm betting on myself, and I feel like I got no other choice. And so it takes courage, and it's not easy, but it's worth it regardless of what happens, because sometimes people go through life with aspirations and goals and dreams, and they never take a chance because it's scary and the odds may not be stacked in their favor. But, at least I'll be able to say 20 years from now, I took a chance, and I had the balls to give it a shot, regardless of what ends up happening. And, my hope and encouragement to people who are following or who are listening to this episode today is, man, bet on yourself. Take a chance, man. Like, it's not like you get time back. It's hard, it's scary, but at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? You fail. You still got people that love you. You still got a roof over your head. It's not like you're missing any meals. So it's like, get up and try again. And if it doesn't work out, then it's all right. You still got other options, you know. So take a chance. And I feel like that's what I'm doing, man. I feel like I'm taking a chance, and I'm just really thankful that things are turning out the way they are so far. And I'm just going to continue to take a chance, man.
Dude, that's amazing. That's awesome. And I'm super pumped that you decided to take a chance, and maybe after 24, win the Olympics. Don't go anywhere in between. Hopefully you have another opportunity. Have another opportunity to get to the WWE if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
we'll see,
awesome, man.
man.
Yeah, yeah, super cool. And
Thanks, man.
and that's kind of run us to the end of the line here. But I just want to say thanks a lot for coming on the show today. Thanks for sharing that with us, everything, but especially this part about the WWE. I actually, looking back, I remember seeing you at some kind of tryout. Clips that you had to try out. So that's awesome. I'm gonna leave you with the final word though, to say anything you want to say before we let you get out of here.
Um, yeah, just don't be afraid to take a chance on yourself. That's it. You
Heck
know,
yeah.
that's for anybody who's listening today. It's scary. Trust me, I was afraid a little bit too, because you want it to work out, but you're not going to know, man, until you at least try. And so, just try it. Just give it a shot. You know.
Heck yeah. Give it a shot. Bet on yourself. Mock, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Best of luck. We'll see you in New Jersey here in just a couple weeks.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm
All right.
excited, man.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
All right, folks. Mike Macchiavello, great show, great guy, and betting on himself. So we're excited. We'll see him on June 10th at Final X, and we'll find out who his opponent is this weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.